Hello and welcome to Clay to Canopy, the show where I attempt to make just about everything from the ground up. And welcome to the 2025-2026 Winter Ware Board Workshop, where we are working on all things clay. In this video, we are going to be firing up a batch of these adorable Christmas cookie themed test tiles for some porcelain slip. So come on, let's do this. Before I can get going with slip trailing, I need to make my colored slip. I have this liquid slip that is casting slip. It's porcelain. I did take some of this stuff and slather it out on a piece of plaster, let it harden up so that I could get a batch of it to use as the base of my cookie tags that I'm going to be rolling out. So I have a firmer, more like your regular bagged clay kind of texture, and I just poured some of this onto a slab of plaster, let it seize up a bit, and then scooped it up, wedged it until I got a ball. I also colored some cookie dough color, and then I rolled out a slab of it. So I'll be using this. This one's ready to go to start cutting cookie shapes out of. We're gonna color some slip, and I have some containers that I am gonna be just pouring some of this slip in. I spent some time mixing this up and getting it into a good consistency the other day, and I think I'm gonna just do my typical Christmas colors: a red, a green, some yellow. For my snowflakes, I think I want to have a little bit of some blue. I think I'm gonna just do a white and blue snowflake. So I'm pouring some of this in here. Normally when I color clay, I like to use it from the dry goods, and I start with dry goods, color the clay with the dry goods, and I run a crap ton of tests to sort out the color that I want. But in this case, this is a more experimental play type of situation. I'm not going to do any of that weighing things out. I do know that I have a limit of where I'm only going to be able to do up to 20%, they say, of color to weight. But since this is already in a water weight situation, weighing this out is going to be a difficult thing without trying to figure out how much water to powder ratio. So in this case, I'm just going to throw in some color until I'm happy with what I see, knowing that it will probably get darker or lighter depending on how it goes in the firing. And that's why we're going to call this an experiment. I need to find something to scoop this out with. How about, yeah, that'll work. Popsicle stick. The lighter colors with stains you're always going to need more of. I'm going to do a yellow and a green. And because I'm going to do two colors, I might as well pour this in, make yellow first, and split the batch in half and then add some blue for the green. You don't get as good of a mix this way when you're mixing dry into wet. I get a better, more even mixture when I do this with powder to powder, because I can shake the powder, make sure the powder gets really all mixed well. And sometimes when you're doing it this way, you end up with pockets of dry powder that doesn't quite get incorporated into the clay. So it can be a bit of a pain to get it really mixed well, and it will take some time. I want to let these set up for a bit before I start using them, so that's why I'm mixing them up ahead of time. And usually if you let them set, any of the powder that didn't get fully mixed will sort of break down, soften, and then you can remix it, and usually it takes care of the problem. The best thing to do is mix them up a day ahead of time before you're going to use them, a day or two, even a week, and as they sit and rest, it will eventually break down enough for you to get a mix in. This is definitely not yellow enough for me. I'm going to set this one aside just for a few minutes and see if I can get it to absorb any of those bits while I move on and mix up a different color. I don't need all of that yellow. I'm going to be chopping this batch down in half. Once I get a happy yellow, I'll pour some off, and then I'll start adding some blue to make my green. I'm just trying to save myself some work. I don't need much for the red either. Let's take a look at the yellow. I don't think I'm going to be adding any more yellow in. I think I'm okay. I just need to get this one broken up. So I'm going to take my stick and use that to squish. Squish, squish, squish some of those bits. You can throw this through a sieve, help break things down, get those chunks out. Depends on the mood you're in, because, you know, you're either going to be sitting here doing the hand labor of squishing to try and break it up with the mixing, or then you're going to be doing the labor of having to clean up the tools if you run it through. I really like doing these in clear containers so that I can take a look and see if I got any bits that didn't quite get mixed. The clear container really helps with being able to see that. I ordered this slip trail kit for 15 bucks on Amazon. It came with a ton of different tips, 2 bottles that have the adjustable bit for changing out tips, and then 2 bottles that you can't really change the tips, but they have this one fixed size of slip trailing that you can do. It also came with some funnels for filling, some pins in case the nozzles get clogged, and an extra backup fitting that goes into the bottle. Seems like a great deal. I've not used this kit before, so we'll see how it goes. I picked a larger size. They have some really tiny ones, and I went with one that's, I guess, medium-sized tip. In order to get me prepped, we need to take out those slabs and cut out some shapes. So I also have my cookie cutters. I also went ahead and pressed a couple of cookie shapes out of B-Mix and out of English porcelain because it's what I have in the studio. I want to just see how the snow colored slip works in conjunction with those other 2 clay bodies. Snow is a cone 5 clay body. The B-Mix slip is a little bit gray, so it may alter the color of the mason stains. So this is why I also want to see if we can get this snow to work. And here's the brownish color I did up. So we're gonna do these as the gingerbread boys and girls. Oh boy, it's a bit harder than I expected it to be. It is a bit crumbly because this is made out of slip, intended for slip casting, and that kind of clay, very plasticky when it's wet, but a bit troublesome. It's not intended to be worked this way as a solid slab. I'm going to do a bit of cleanup on these. Just going to go around and scrape away some of the edging. Ooh, this does not like to clean up the same way as it is in porcelain slip. Interesting. Alright, so try it this method. It's crumbly. I am going to come in with my carving tools and give myself some guide points where the slip is going to land when I start the slip trailing. I've got my smaller carving tool. I'll come in and let's see. Alright, I have some spaces cleared out on this one, ready to go. I'm going to continue this process with all of my bits. Maybe for these snowflakes, I will apply the slip directly on top and not give it any kind of spacing. So I'm loading up the first round with just some plain white slip. Seems like the thing to do is to squeeze out some air and then slowly let go as it helps suction it in. So I realized that I needed some white on my gingerbread men, but this also will give me the neutral test when I apply this snow slip to B-Mix and the English porcelain. So these 2 are what I'm gonna call my control. This one's B-Mix and this one is English porcelain. So I'm piping on a little bit of white. I don't like that design. Just scrape it off. This looks about centered. I have like black cat hair now all over freaking everything, thanks to my little Victoria. Set these 2 aside and I'm going to add in the whites on the rest of my gingerbread Good thing is if you let it dry, it can scrape whatever mess you didn't like. I don't want to keep switching colors. So everything that needs to have white is going to get piped first with the white. Then I will switch it out for the colors, and then I can come back and pipe other things. And I'm just using the back of my thumb to put a very small amount of pressure at getting this to come out. I am coming to the end. This is my last one, and I must admit, this was incredibly fun to do, but yes, it was an uber pain to clean up in terms of having to keep switching out the colors. It's a lot of labor switching out the colors. So I think if you're gonna get yourself into this situation where you're gonna do a lot of this, often enough to make the investment, I personally would order enough of these bottles to have one of each color going at all times, so I won't have to keep switching them all out at once. The other major downfall that is happening right now is that I am now craving sugar cookies. Cause yeah, they're just like these awesome little, I just want a little nice delicate little sugar cookie that is decorated with frosting. I do a lot of baking, and I've never done this process with cookies. I don't know. So much fun. So much fun. This is my very last one. It's very easy to scrape off whatever you don't like if you're not happy with the design. So I'm going to wrap everything up in plastic, let it dry on its own very slowly. My gingerbreads and my other testers and my parts for an up and coming wreath. These need to get bisque fired, and then everything is getting clear coated. Alright y'all. Here are the results. Threw them into a cone 5 firing. I really love the way that the cookie color came out. You know, this was a complete experiment. I just sort of threw colors together hoping to get something that was going to be gingerbready looking, and they came out great. It's awesome. You know, the slips worked really well using that snow slip and just adding the mason stains in. It really held into place. And now that I've done all of my slip testers, I actually have cute little giveaways to get to have. You know, these are great ornaments that I can use or as gift tags. I left the blacks of these raw clay so that you can go ahead and just take a marker or a paint pen and write out to and from, and this can become your package gift tag, but then also double as a secondary gift. What are you doing? Mama, we're decorating our tree here. Yeah, we're gonna decorate our little tree. We got a rosemary so that afterwards we can put this in the garden. I hope you enjoyed this video. I certainly had so much fun messing around with these colored slips. I could not be happier with the color. They really did work out the colors I had in my mind. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, share and subscribe if you have not done so already, and stick around for more Ware board fun.